Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life with the Weathersbys. I'm Darnell Weathersby,
Hi, this is Charnel.
and today we just want to talk about the power of dinner table conversation. I don't know about the rest of you, but as life happens in our world, in our society, and just happens in each and every one of our individual lives, we found that there's power, and we try to have dinner together as a family at the dinner table. At least every other night or most nights we come together and we just break bread. And we've learned that that's a powerful time for us just to grow as a family and discuss what's going on in our lives. And those have been some hard conversations lately around the dinner table, just talking about how things are impacting our children, how do we have those conversations with them? And there's no perfect book to this. There's no perfect manual to how to talk about police brutality, how to talk about the pandemic, how to talk about everything that's going on in our world when people are voicing their anger and voicing their displeasure with society. Those are not easy conversations for adults, let alone for children. So we just wanted to share a little bit about how we're navigating that space.
Yeah, and Darnell and I have always valued conversation throughout our marriage. And, as of recently, the past couple of weeks, there's so many things happening in our community. You turn on the news left and right,
Yes.
there's anger, there's hatred, there's conversations that are happening, and it can't help but just pour into our household.
Right.
And we have two little ones, and they're also seeing what's going on in our society. So we've been challenged to not just talk to each other, but also to make sure that we're talking with our kids about things. And I would say, as we talk about Black men, as we talk about our Black sons, um, I also have fear, I have anger, I have frustration. I'm just finding myself lately sometimes speechless and a
Right.
loss of words. There's things that I want to say, but I don't know how to say.
Yes.
And as we just talk amongst ourselves, one of the biggest things that I've just vocalized to Darnell is, how do we talk to our children, but how do we continue to have the conversation with other couples and individuals intentionally within our community and within our church? And so that's something that we have just said, we're going to make sure that we're addressing the elephant in the room.
Right.
So at our dinner table, throughout our marriage, this is where we have our heated discussions, we have our intimate discussions. It's around breaking bread, hey,
Yeah.
while we're eating at the table. And as of lately, I've been able to just share with Darnell from my heart. I fear sometimes when you leave out the house and you go to
Mm-hmm.
work, and I fear this, I fear that, and we pray together as a family. We read the Word of God together as a family. But it's nothing like being able to just open up and just share our greatest and deepest concerns as a couple. And that's been important to our marriage, but even as of more lately.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's freeing and liberating to be able to say, like Chanel said, I'm fearful when you go out to the store late at night because I want to make sure you make it back home safely. The man in me wants to protect and say, "Oh, I'll be fine, no problem." But unfortunately, if you're watching the news and living in your community, you understand that not everybody does make it back home safely. So we want to have those honest conversations, and part of the health of any marriage and any family is being able to say what you're scared of, what you're apprehensive of, what you're feeling anxiety from. So I think it's healthy for us to be able to look each other in the eyes and say, it does make me fearful, and I want to see you protected. I want to be able to have those conversations with our son and daughter about how society views them as young Black men and young Black women. And those conversations are not always pleasant when you're talking about stereotypes, when you're talking about lack of expectation for them and how society views them as potentially a threat or hostile or violent. That's hard to stomach when I know that's not my son, and that's not my daughter, and that's not how we raised them. But we live in a fallen world, and we have to train them up to understand that not everybody views them in the image of God. Not everybody views them as intelligent. Not everybody views them as a leader. So though people may view them differently, we are intentionally building them up and building up their self esteem and creating positive images for them in a proactive way because they're going to need that as they navigate this society. So it's important that as parents, we're on the same page so we can pour into them in a strategic manner.
Yeah, and so really our first point tonight in as we talk about life with the Weathersby is a big part of
Yes,
our life is conversation.
yes,
Yes, about our marriage and as a couple, but also about culture and things that are going on in our society
yes,
outside of the four walls of our home and how that's influencing our family, but also influencing us as individuals. So,
right,
things that are happening in the news in our culture today, I encourage you to bring it to your dinner time table to
yes,
ask your kids questions no matter
yes,
what their age is, whether they're young as elementary school all the way up through in college, but encourage and intentionally have the conversations at your dinner table within your home with
yes.
your children.
It's
Do not
good.
avoid the conversation
No,
and answer their questions. Allow your marriage to be a safe space within your home where you can have an influential
definitely.
conversation with your children, where you're training them up so that they can go out and not be ignorant of what's going on in their community,
Right.
but also have a point of view and opinion on it. Our second point tonight is what can you do as a couple?
Yes.
One thing that we've always talked about as Weatherspees is yes, we're married, yes, we love each other, but we also from day one have realized that marriage is a ministry
Yes, it is.
and it's an opportunity for your marriage to have greater impact. And so our point number two really tonight is how can your marriage be a ministry to others during this season?
Yes.
Whatever that is. And so one of the biggest things for us is my ability right now to support Darnell. And as he uses his voice in our community, in our church, how can I be supportive to him? And then vice versa, him being supportive to me as I go out and to minister to others, whether it be women, other entrepreneurs, and do what we normally do
Right.
on a daily basis. But how do we support each other specifically during this season of our lives? And as a couple, how do we minister to
Right.
other couples? How do we minister to church leaders? How do we
Yes.
minister to our neighbors? How do we minister externally? So,
Yeah.
investing in your marriage is so much, yes, about how you build each other up, but it's also about the work that you two are able to do outside of your marriage. And how
Correct.
can you intentionally go out and be a ministry to others?
That's good. And I think we always talk about being Team Weathersby. But part of being Team Weathersby is understanding that you have unique gifts and talents and abilities that make you Charnel. How can I support you in doing that? Understanding that that may cause me to pick up some things around the house and get things in order to free you up to create content like we've been doing in this season, to create webinars and different things because God has gifted you. So I think it's exciting to understand that both of you have skills, both of you have talents. And part of being a team is saying whatever I need to do to allow my spouse to thrive, then I need to do that in this season.
Yeah, and just continuing to press our point here of the togetherness in that ministry. So, just really, how do you do it together?
Right.
Because a marriage is, yes, two individuals coming together to be one union, and you both have individual gifts, and you both have been called to do unique things uh, in and of yourselves as individual. But your ministry as a marriage, make sure you understand and know what that is,
Right.
because there's a reason why the Lord has brought you two together.
Yes.
And through
Yes.
your prayer, through your conversations, through community, and communion together, make sure you know what it is that you two together have been called to do and go
Definitely.
out and do it. Because iron sharpens iron, and Darnell's got his guys, and I've got my girls, and they strengthen us
Yes.
as individuals, if you will. But we strengthen each other
Mm-hmm.
also. And so I really want you guys think hard and come together as couples and be the union that the Lord has called you to be, and to think about what ministry it is that you can do together. Whether you pray over other couples, whether you have a small group that you open up your home or you just do
That's
Zoom
good.
videos with
Yeah.
together, whether you join the couples ministry and you mentor another couple, or whether it is that you are a visible presence within your neighborhood. Whatever it is, whether you
Right.
start something together, start a business together, start a group and organization together, whatever it is, but find out what it is that you can do together, because it's in and through your togetherness that I know that you can have even a greater impact in the world around you.
And to also talk about that, maybe step 3 is be vulnerable, be transparent. The Weathersbys, Lord knows we are not perfect, but in the midst of our imperfection, God has given us opportunities and a platform to minister to others. So every marriage has issues, every marriage has shortcomings, and part of the power of your being a couple and God using you is understanding that the issues that we struggle with, we're not by ourselves. All marriages have issues, and therefore, how can you use that in a transparent way to say to that younger married couple or that single person that sees you from afar and says, I want what you have, and you can be able to help them see, here's what all that means, here's how we balance, here's how we navigate life together, not in a perfect way, but this is what works for us, as you find out what works for you as an individual and then as a couple. So don't be afraid to share your strengths and your weaknesses with those that God has put in your sphere of influence. I think so many times we paint a picture of perfection that isn't attainable to the world, and then they in turn don't want what we have to offer. But if we're able to be transparent and say, here are the things we're doing well, here are the things we're continually working on, because we all have those things, I think God is even more glorified when we're transparent and we're vulnerable to those who are listening to what we have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so excited to once again join in conversation with you. This is Life with the Weathersbys.
Yes.
Continue to follow us, comment, share. We will see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.